footsteps of my King.
All right. The topic is weight loss. Weight loss. So Instagram, you guys can chime in and let me know your thoughts. If you have questions, I'm going to actually record this for possibly a future podcast. And so just answering some of those questions that came in. A lot of people don't know this, but the reason I have a passion for health and fitness, and again, if you want, chime in, you can ask questions on here. Nothing's off the limits on this area of biblical health and fitness from a biblical perspective, biblical weight loss. And so, I was involved in the fitness industry before I became a pastor. God kind of called me out of that. And then I became a pastor. So I still want to help people in this area. A lot of times I'll pray for people, but the thing I'm praying for them about, high anxiety, well, have you tried getting off caffeine? High stress. Have you been in God's word? Have you, put things in your mind that are wholesome and edifying? Things like that. We have to start there at the basics. Type 2 diabetes. Would you pray for me? Yes, but we have to get your blood glucose level under control, and your body's insulin resistant right now. So there's so many practical things. And I think, it's important to look at it from a biblical perspective. So again, I'm going live for some of you here on Instagram. You can put your question in there. Anything diet related, health related, because it's an important topic. Here's why it's important. People say, Shane, we're just supposed to, confront the culture, and we don't need to worry about all this stuff. Well, the problem is I can't confront the culture, nor can you, unless you're taking good care of this body that God has given us. And so, I know people who are bedridden. Some of the people at our church who do the most for God are actually in wheelchairs. And so God can do whatever he wants to anyone. So I'm not trying to say, God wants all of us to be healthy and wealthy and wise. Of course not. But we are called to steward this gift he has given us. And so when we're taking better care of our body, we can then, do things for God even better. How much better of a parent are you going to be when you're not flying off the handle and snapping and irritable, when you're getting that good sleep, when you're off of caffeine? And how about a better parent, or a better father, or a better dad, or being able to go to the hospital and have more energy to go visit people, minister to people? And so I think the enemy's coming after our health, because I know personally when I'm just, when I was overweight and low energy, I didn't want to do much. Preaching was hard. Ministering to people was hard. And so I think that's important. I think we don't want to overlook that. So I'm going to take some questions here, mainly on Instagram. If you want to put your question in on this area. People have been asking, about, let's start the top question, peptides. And that would take a whole podcast on its own. You're hearing a lot more about peptides. They've actually been out since the 1980s, I think, especially from Russia. Some of them, you've got to be careful with. They are a lot different than performance enhancing drugs. What the difference is, I'll tell you briefly. Performance enhancing, you would look at testosterone, male hormones, and somebody would go to the doctor. I've got friends that are on hormone replacement therapy right now, and they're actually younger than me. And I'm like, guys, you don't always have to do that. If you just, sometimes you do. I'm not ruling it out. But, so you're actually going to your doctor and you're taking testosterone every couple of weeks, and it's a synthetic. And so what happens is your body stops producing testosterone, and your testes in men will begin to, shrivel up because they're no longer needed. And it can future problems, of course, but sometimes it might be, okay to offset that. I'm not, that's up to them and God, but that's what it is. Testosterone therapy. They're injecting synthetic testosterone to, get the body going with fat loss, energy, and things like that. Or you have human growth hormone therapy. And that's a different hormone. Human growth hormone, actually exactly what it means is, you are, increasing you're not actually increasing your own human growth hormone. You are putting synthetic human growth hormone into your body. Some people swear by it. I follow sometimes Jay Campbell. He's not a Christian. He's not a believer. We dialogue sometimes. And of course, great information from Ben Greenfield, one of the top leading fitness experts. And Gary Becca, hoping to have him on my podcast soon. I've been talking to him a little bit. And so, that's what hormone replacement therapy, or women will take some types of hormone replacement therapy, or you're hearing it in the LGBTQ agenda. A girl wants to take hormone replacement therapy because she wants to transition to a boy. And so, that's what hormone replacement therapy is. You're putting a synthetic drug into your body. And that's what I did when I was younger, in my 20s, probably 19 or so, 20, 21. I would take Sustanon 250. It would have, it would have testosterone, ethionate, propionate, and cypionate in it. And then I would take Anadrol, Anavar, Decadurabolin, Dianabol, Anadrol. I think it says Winstrol V, Equipoise. Some of those are veterinarian drugs, and they're all synthetic, and it causes your body to grow and get bigger because you have a wrong priority. Hey, Art, I see you logging on. Kenny, Julie, make about 50, 100, 150 people now. So keep asking questions on this. That's why I'm here. So anyway, that's what synthetic hormones are. Growth hormone, testosterone, you're putting synthetic things in. Sometimes you need it, and that will, get your body going. Now, what peptides are. So I said all that to get to what peptides are. Peptides, and I'm not going to get real deep into this. Number one, I'm not an expert. There's good books out there on this topic, but what they do is they actually, they have certain peptides, certain amino acid strands, whether it's 9 or 20 and what they do is you take the peptide, and that peptide goes and it causes your own body to produce more testosterone. It causes your own body to produce more growth hormone. So you're not taking a synthetic thing. The peptides are actually, working with your pituitary gland and different things so that your body produces more growth hormone or more testosterone. Now, of course, there's, you could have some pitfalls with that too. Everything, there's usually a pro and con with most things. And those would be things like, I believe, ipamorelin or tesamorelin, CJC 1295. Those types of peptides are what they would call secretagogues. And what they do is, if you take it, you kind of, get the heart rate going, and you can tell your body's, it's signaling your body to produce more testosterone or usually more growth hormone. And so those, you be careful with. I don't know if you can take those orally and if they work well, and then you're back to insulin needles and giving yourself a shot. Then there's other peptides that are more for recovery. I can't remember the name right now, that somebody recommended for recovery for joints. And it's a peptide. It's definitely more of a healthier approach. And then there's also, something called 5-amino 1-MQ. I don't know if it's considered a peptide, but what it does is, it does something with the fat cells where it blocks certain things so the fat cells can't keep getting larger and things. So I would just take it to the Lord and pray about it. So that's what peptides are for those who had that question. I would say definitely a healthier approach than synthetic hormones. But again, a lot of this can be corrected by diet and lifestyle changes. Okay. So next question. Again, if you have any questions on Instagram here, go ahead and put it on there. I won't be able to get to all these probably, but another one, this is important. Are calories a big deal? I've heard that counting calories is key to weight loss. Okay. Let's talk about this for a minute, because if you talk to, let's say Daniel Pompa has a lot of great videos on this. He's a friend of mine, and he's educated me on a lot of things. And then again, Peter Attia is great on this topic. And, Jason Fung, has a lot of good information. So what I try to do is take all this information. Let me answer this real quick. Do you need a prescription for peptides? Good question. I think it depends on what peptides. So you could talk to your doctor. Unfortunately, a lot of doctors don't know about, peptides, and they do peptides would be more the natural approach. But again, you have to investigate a little bit. There's like the complete peptide handbook. I think on Amazon could tell you more. But that's a good point on peptides. Prescription, I think it depends what the FDA has them categorized as. I know that they're not cheap, and you have to be careful where you get the peptides from, because a lot of companies aren't reputable. And again, I want to mention Jay Campbell here. Knows a lot about peptides, but again, he's not a Christian. So, be careful on listening to some of the podcasts and stuff. He's kind of, you got it right. We'll let it, you might hear some cursing and things like that, but he's got a lot of great information on it. So now back to this, calories. So again, from my perspective and from a biblical perspective, And what I've, learned over the years, I'm no expert in this because here's the thing about calories. When people say you don't have to worry, and here's what I don't like. And this one thing I would disagree with, let's say Jason Fung on, you don't worry about calories. It's not about calories. It's all about hormones. And what they're saying is somewhat true because I know a guy who's my age, eats 3,000 calories a day and can stay extremely lean, probably because his hormones are working well. He's probably got a higher metabolic rate. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis is probably higher than mine. Hormones play a key role because if your hormones are out of balance, and let's say glucagon, that actually is a hormone that will lead to fat loss. So if your glucagon is in high alert and it's working good and you're burning efficiently and you're active, hormones are the key. Or then you have too much, insulin is the talk of the town right now. Insulin is a fat storage hormone, which is really good, a couple hundred years ago, but today it's not real good. So my thought on calories, here's the bottom line. I think different calories matter. How a Snickers bar is going to affect your body versus an organic apple with some almond butter on it. I'd take that any day over the Snickers bar. We can get away from this fact. I think this is a bottom line fact in health and fitness. We just have to be careful because it can turn into a form of dieting. It can turn into, eating disorders and getting too weird about your food, which I've been there and I've been extremes. I don't want to get too weird about it. And then I just kind of get lazy and I kind of just, my body falls apart. And then I don't want to get too crazy and carried away, get a scale and let's measure 8 ounces of beans. But it's good. Now I know, banana, 120 calories, an apple, 100 calories, a cup of beans, fully cooked beans has this, a handful of nuts, 200, maybe 300, depending on your hand, so it's good to know that information. So it took me 3 minutes to get to this point. All right. Again, put your comments, questions on here and I will try to get to them. The bottom line is, in my opinion, hormone optimization is great, taking care of your body, eating the right foods. But if you consume more energy, more calories, that's what a calorie is, a unit of energy. So if you take in more energy than what your body is burning, regardless of hormone levels, regardless of genetics, regardless of the type of food, even from time to time, if you take in more energy, your body will what? It can't use it. So what does it do? It stores it. It stores it mainly in women in hips and the buttocks, and men mainly around the abdomen and kind of lower back and even upper back. And those calories will be stored. So for me to remove, I can't tell people, hey, don't worry about calories because I'll eat 3 cups of nuts and have too many calories and end up let's see. I'm interjecting here. His name is Jay Campbell. But again, remember, I'm not necessarily endorsing him. He's not a believer. Some stuff I don't agree with, kind of gets out there and spirituality stuff, but he knows a lot about peptides. But also you have to be careful who you're getting information from because the Bible says that we are to seek godly counsel. And so I don't really want those who are not believers. So what I do is I get the information about peptides. I get all this information and then I sift it through the filter of God's word. For example, do I want to get these so I can have a 6-pack? That's not good. Do I want to get back to how I used to look? When I was 29, I looked like a miniature Arnold Schwarzenegger at 210 pounds, where he was about 240, very similar, body, 6'2". And so if that's my goal, then it's probably not a good idea to delve into those waters. But if I just want to have more energy for my kids, I want to be active, I want to live a healthy life, then, I think it's something good about stewarding our body. So I personally think calories do matter. I think we have to be aware. That's why intermittent fasting is the big rage right now. You go at least 16 hours, then autophagy kicks in, you go 18 hours. And what you're doing is a couple things. You are limiting calories to some degree. And if you eat more calories later, it could make up the difference. But then you're also, what happens, the reason why intermittent fasting I think is important, I think it's pretty much biblical as well. We're not designed to eat every time we have a desire, every 2.5 hours, every 3 hours. We are when we eat, here goes blood sugar. And in response to that, here comes insulin. So let's eat again. Blood sugar, here comes insulin. We're going to eat again. Here comes blood sugar, insulin. We're going to eat tonight, late night. Anybody late night bingers? Blood sugar goes up when we eat insulin. And all this insulin, remember, insulin is a fat storage hormone. And so what happens is too much of this, and basically your cells close off. And your cells are closed, and now you're insulin resistance. Now the insulin can't get in there. What the insulin is supposed to do is it opens the doorway for glucose to come into your cell. And so by too much sugar, too much eating, I think most of the problems now it's being traced directly to too much glucose, too much carbohydrates. For sure. And so I'm not a keto guy all the time. I think it can be wise sometimes. A carnivore, fiber content, phytochemicals from plants. I don't know if that's how we were created. I know Alaska people, Eskimos have done really well on it, and it has a purpose. Jordan Peters did well on it. Joe Rogan said he enjoyed it. But I just think long-term sustainability and how I was created, what the Bible says that God gave us the plants for our primary food. So, if you're trying to lose weight, you have to be somewhat considerate of calories. And maybe it's like, hey, after 5 p.m., if most of us could not eat after 5 p.m., I think we would be in a lot better shape. That's where a lot of the damage takes place, because not only is it more calories, now these calories are going to prevent a good sleep, because now even adrenaline's worked up, your metabolic rates increase a little bit, digestion is taking place. It's hard to sleep. You're waking up more. Now you got to urinate more because you just took in some, even if you take in fruit, that's going to, when it converts, water is going to be left over as well. And we don't get a good night's sleep. Our insulin goes up, and we tend to gain weight. So let's see here. I'm going to go to some of the more of the, I wish I could remember that peptide that's good for, and actually I think you can take it in a pill. It's good for recovery, or you can find a doctor who maybe can inject, that peptide for recovery into your system. All right. Let's see if we got two more I can get to. What would I recommend fasting? Art, good question. Would you recommend fasting for 24 to 36 hours twice a week, or a straight 3 to 5 day fast? Here's why fasting is interesting. Many of you who follow fasting, there's a lot of different opinions out there, right? So for me, I take it to God and really, Lord, what are you teaching me? What do you want me to do? What's a person's goals? So how I would answer that question for me versus somebody who just found out they've got, a breast cancer developing or colon cancer possibility. Because in those cases, I'm going to be like water fasting as long as you can to go deep into autophagy for sure. But if I'm a pastor, a father, 36 hours. If you've never tried 36-hour fasting, it's pretty challenging. And that's just having water only. And again, for those of you who don't know, you can download my book, Feasting and Fasting, for free at the church website, westsidechristianfellowship.org, westsidechristianfellowship.org, Feasting and Fasting. And it can answer all your questions. What should I drink? Can I drink this? Can I eat this? How long should I fast? All of that is in there. And also, if you think of it, share this podcast. Wherever you're at, and try to get the word out, trying to help more people get in shape, because I think it's not about looking good at the beach, right? It's about longevity, productivity, feeling better. And when I feel better mentally, physically, emotionally, I actually feel better spiritually as well. They are interwoven. If I just eat too much, I'm gluttonous. It affects my spiritual life. I don't want to read the word. I don't want to pray. I don't really want to go to church. So you wonder how many people don't want to come to church on Sunday because of what they did Saturday night. There's definitely a parallel there. So another question. What would I recommend? I think the 3 to 5 day fast is definitely more beneficial health wise. It just depends, can a person do it? And I get into, what many of you know, if you follow fasting, if you don't follow fasting, you don't know what autophagy is, but autophagy happens when your body runs out of glucose for fuel, and it begins like Pac-Man, diseased tissue, other benign areas, even cancerous tumors have been proven, it'll start to consume these things that are dead, and it spares your muscle, protein sparing mode, And it's because we are created by a creator. We are designed. That's why there's so many benefits of taking care of this body and looking to our designer to get us going in the right direction. Let's see. From a dead start and with a busy lifestyle, what is the best way to begin getting healthy? Okay. Nathan Anderson, I think it is. Pastor Nathan Anderson. Good to hear from you. And I've got a passion for this area because, left to myself, I would probably be, 50, 60, 70 pounds overweight. I love to eat too much. I love chocolate at night. I'm just not, when I grew up, I had friends that would eat exactly like I did, and they looked like a model, GQ model. And it's like, how do you look like that? And so genetics does play a role in it. Not everyone's going to look like The Rock, even if they take, growth hormone and testosterone and tren and things like that. There's genetics definitely plays a role. And so what I've always heard is, and what I like is genetics loads the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. Your lifestyle can actually change some of your genetic expression. They call it epigenetics. And although I'm predispositioned to be this way, I don't have to live this way. And so from a dead start, what I would do is the battle is in the mind. You have to, the power of the made up mind. Lord, I'm tired of being overweight. I'm tired of being sluggish. I'm tired of not being a good parent for my kids. I'm going to see this through and usually, let's be realistic. It took time to put the weight on. I would, give a good 6-month goal, by next spring. And, no, the holidays are coming. I usually do pretty good at holidays. I don't have any candy around Halloween time, even though we don't celebrate Halloween per se. I don't eat, candy around Christmas much. It's just, power of the made up mind, and I know where it's going to take me. And so, it doesn't mean you're not going to blow it now and then or enjoy it, some things now and then, birthday cake, whatever. But you have, okay, I've got that 6-month goal, and knowing that you're not going to actually see the results very quickly. It's a process. A pound of fat, wonder what I could show you a pound of fat would be. A pound of fat, is 3,500 calories. And so if you're creating a deficit, it's going to take a while to lose a pound of fat. And you don't want to just starve yourself because your metabolic rate, your metabolism can slow down a lot. And then you're going to start eating again the normal way. And then you're going to gain that weight on. That's what the yo-yo effect really is. The yo-yo effect is your body's metabolic rate slowing down, adjusting to the low calories. Now, granted, I would even start to incorporate some fasting right away. If I was working with somebody and like I used to do, let's say they're 300 pounds and I would look at their diet, I would write them out a menu. I'd probably, if possible, skip breakfast. If they can, let that fasting continue to lunch, maybe a good, solid, very healthy lunch, huge salad with all kinds of things on it, a grilled chicken breast, and then possibly a lot of avocado. And then, later on around 4:00, a good healthy dinner, maybe a little bit of protein shake, right after that, and some supplements. And then, let's say that's 2,000 calories. And I would say that's your 2 meals for the day. You start to really crave something after that. No, it's going to take a while. It's your body fighting these addictions. And so, maybe some sparkling water is good. Something to take the edge off. Sometimes I have some magnesium and mix it. It's a little bit sweet, and just things that kind of take the edge off. But we have to remember it's a challenge. It's a fight. It's a battle. It's hard. It's not easy. And so we start to tell people, take a pill, for 30 days, lose 30 pounds in 30 days, wear this belt that shakes you and no, it's hard in this life. It is hard, especially with fast food on every corner. It's hard, and it's going to take a mental, strong person to get through this. So I'd set myself up a goal, and I would not weigh myself, but once a week at the same time, every single day on an empty stomach. And even if I didn't see much progress, and I've done this before, man, I didn't lose any weight. That's why measurements are important. Measurements of your waist and navel, especially for men. And I noticed I dropped a 1/2 inch on my waist, but my weight didn't change. Well, remember, if you're also working out, muscle, depending on your age, muscle can start to develop and start to grow. And so the weight might not change too much, but eventually now you've got that more muscle. Now that muscle, you're going to be able to expend more calories, and now you're going to be able to drop some weight even quicker. So that's what I would do from a dead start. I would incorporate intermittent fasting. I would limit my feeding window. I would get more active. Even now I parked, way away from the mall, and I walked to the mall. I walked around the mall. I actually walked over a mile just going to the mall. Same thing with when I go shopping. I park the farthest out. I take stairs, and you got to wear, if you've got on your Apple Watch, it says I'm almost there right now, meeting my daily goals, of walking. I want to walk, 5-6 miles a day. In addition to my exercise and just staying busy. So you got to stay busy. You got to stay active, because that's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. They call it the NEAT principle. And that's when you're burning. You can burn, believe it or not, 300, 400, 500, 600 calories a day on top of exercise just by being more active. And then when you're being more active, you are motivated and you're seeing the progress. And even if there's a week goes by, you don't see much progress, you get back on track. You keep falling forward. And then I would also choose God-given healthy food. Is it God-given or is it man-made? I would choose, in this situation I'm giving here, I don't call it keto. Keto to me is pretty hard because it's only like 50 grams of carbohydrates for the whole day. I sometimes get it down to 20 grams. And I don't know if that's net carbs after their fiber intake. I'm not really sure. But for me, I don't go that low. But for this person, I might recommend a huge salad, meat. And if you do have a little bit of carbs, maybe at lunch, maybe half of a sweet potato with some avocado, and getting your 1,000 calories at one meal, 1,000 calories at the other meal. And then you're staying very active. You'll see some tremendous results, by doing that. I'd start walking. All of us can walk farther. You don't need, and I would, this might be a little, hardcore, but it's okay. I've done it where I've unplugged the TV, put it away in the closet, hide the remote control, and I leave my phone somewhere at 6 p.m. every night, and I'm done with electronics. And you're more active. I take my son to the batting cages. I go on a walk, to our office, or I'll play with the kids, and you're just staying more active. And so we're seeing a lot of things. The wrong food. And we're becoming insulin resistant. We're also not as active. Activity is so important. The old saying, if you don't use it, you will lose it, is absolutely true. So, let's see. I'm going to try to get to a few more of these on this podcast, a biblical approach to health and fitness. And I will try to get to, maybe some at a future one. But if you have any questions on this, what protein powder is good? Well, it depends on what your goal is. You've got great plant-based protein powder. Kajava is expensive though. And I try to, if I get that, make it last for a while. Or just look at the ingredients. If you can't pronounce it and you're not sure what it is, look it up online, but it should just have basic, good, God-given ingredients. And I even actually mix it with some macadamia oil or macadamia milk. I think there's something called, nothing but macadamias or something like that. And they actually have the macadamia milk. Mix that with cold water, milk, and the shake. So it just depends, what supplements. It depends what your goals are. I have a whole video on YouTube about some of the supplements I take. I would definitely bottom line, be getting a good multi-mineral and vitamin, and also a great B complex vitamin. I would get good D and K vitamins. There's a whole, and then trace mineral vitamins. Trace minerals actually, it comes in maybe a powder or liquid. And I take my supplements one day and then nothing the next. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I save a lot of money that way. So that's one idea. Let's see a couple other ones. Oh, hey, Alex, how you doing? You have any questions on your end? Let me know. Okay, another one here on, again, if you have any questions on health and fitness from a biblical perspective, put it on here. Another one about, when is physical fitness becoming fanaticism? When is it becoming too extreme? That's a good point. As humans, we always vacillate on these types of areas, right? I'm either leaning too far to the gluttony end in the activity, or I'm getting a little bit too carried away and crazy here. I've got to work out twice a day, and I got to measure my food intake on my scale, and I'm going to get mad at my wife if she buys some ice cream, and I don't want to go to my kid's birthday party. That's not real healthy. You got to learn how to live within the constraints that God has given us. And it's hard to find that balance. I haven't mastered it. Sometimes I lean the other way, and so I think, as long as it's not idolatry and, you look in the mirror all the time. If I want to get real crazy, I don't have a six pack. I'm 215 pounds, 6'2", and, it's not real pleasant to look at the beach, but I feel healthy. I feel vibrant. I feel it's not about that. I want to know, can my clothes fit pretty good? Energy for my kids. Now, do I want to get down eventually? Yeah, and I will. I feel God wants me as I get older. As you get older, lean is the key. Trust me. Lean while holding on to muscle is the goal. The goal as I get older is I don't want to be resistant to insulin. I don't want to eat too many carbs and deal with that because your eyesight starts to fade. Your hands get numb. Your body really deteriorates when you're having too many carbs and too much insulin. And I also want to make sure I'm active and want to be leaner and holding on to muscle just to be able to get around better. Can't get off the floor with your kids. It's definitely hard. I think I answered this before, but the all meat diet. And again, the reason I'm a little bit different than most people out there you watch is I look at it from a biblical perspective. That's the only way I know. Fitness through a biblical perspective tells me that walking is really good. Lifting things is really good because God created us to work. And I'm not in construction anymore with a big digging bar and breaker bars and all that. Now I've got to, stay active. And so a lot of these guys, you'll hear them say, well, evolutionary or, the industrial age. And we when we were evolved, it's all, I have to throw that out the window because you cannot base anything off of evolution or how in the world could we evolve? How did the first little single cell, whatever, made a man and then another one knew to make a woman and then they knew how to come together and have a baby? Give me a break. It's lunacy. It's absolute lunacy. But again, they don't want there to be a God. There cannot be a God. That means I have to submit and surrender and I'm not God. And that's pride and that's arrogant. So sorry to answer your question. I don't believe in the carnivore diet. I wouldn't encourage anybody to do it necessarily, other than the fact, Jordan Peters and his daughter had really good results and other people have. And here's why. You're getting rid of all the processed food. You're getting rid of all the junk food and you're just eating God-given meat. That's it. So you will see probably your skin clear up. You'll probably go into a ketogenic phase. Absolutely. Is your body designed to live on ketones only? No, I don't think so. I think our body was designed as the chief source of energy. Carbohydrates is the chief source of energy. I think that's how we were designed because you can see how it's broken down. It's stored in the muscle. It's stored in the liver and it's easy access as soon as you need it. Whereas fat, you actually have to get into ketosis and then the fat is fuel. And then if you start to get really low, gluconeogenesis, where your muscle is being converted now into glucose, right? The primary. So I think carbohydrates are our primary source of energy, how we are created. And in the Bible, it says, I gave them all the herbs, all the greens, the trees, the fruits. I gave all of this to them for fuel, for food. Okay. But then all the benefit of meat protein versus plant. What about some of the vitamins and minerals that are actually lacking in plants? And that's true. Vegans have to take a special supplement because it's not found in plants. And, I don't really know how that works other than I know they were a lot closer to the soil. And a lot of times when you're in the soil, and that's why I worked in construction, a lot of soil, that soil carries a lot of the vitamins and minerals that plants are missing. So, if you're grabbing a carrot from the dirt and you're eating it, you could actually get some of the same types of vitamins and minerals. Plus, what does the animal do? The animal eats the grass, the cow, and the oxen. Look how strong an oxen is. What do they eat? Plants. So, but this is a heated debate. It's almost like debating Calvinism and Arminianism in the church, or eschatology, the end times rapture, or once saved, always saved. You got people, they're very passionate about this. But from my perspective, the Bible is clear that we are to primarily eat plants. And we can get into the phytochemicals, the cancer preventing effects of plants, resveratrol in grapes, antioxidants. And then I love these guys that come on and say, plants are trying to kill you. No, they're not. What they're actually doing is they're keeping away the pests, but the levels of toxicity in the plants are not hurting our body. Actually, what they're doing is, did you know there's cyanide, I believe, in some, I think maybe in a peach nut or something, a pear, don't quote me on this, but not a pear, but, or nectarine or something. It's actually a little bit of that in there. And so you have these things at a small level, they can be good for the body, but you start to get excessive levels. So I just can't if it doesn't line up scripturally, I can't believe it. So I don't believe in the carnivore diet long term, but short term it might work for some people. Also, you have to remember, where does I can think of a lot of prescriptions that actually have their foundation in plants, rapamycin, for example, metformin, statin drugs. A lot of those, rapamycin, for example, I think it was found in the bacteria on Easter Island, and rapamycin, decent medicine. Metformin, a lot of people take that for diabetes. So medicine often has its good medicine often has its roots in plants. Where do we get some of our opiates from? Plants. So I can't buy into the meat diet phase. A lot of this is a phase, carnivore. Now, again, it can work good for some people, and I just mentioned why, because they're removing all processed food and they're eating just meat. You are going to definitely reap some benefits. I would be concerned about too much protein and what that does to the body, and also my lack of fiber. Those would be the big concerns for me. Julie Dawn, good to hear from you. Been praying for you guys, for the same Julia Dawn I'm thinking of. Yes. Where are we, pre-trib or post-trib or in between? I'd say we all agree that we're in the end times. Yeah, me too. You can listen to my series on Revelation, and I try to just show the different views on what that looks like too. So anyway, just want to pop on for a little bit and talk about biblical health from a biblical perspective. Let's see. Got a lot of questions on plant-based protein. I think I answered most of them. A lot of organic vegetables, good healthy fats. Yes, I didn't mention too much about that. But when you eat protein, you should eat it with the fat. And there's experts on this that can tell you how the protein is utilized even better in fat. And think about it, it comes with fat. When you see a piece of meat with fat on it, eat the fat, to some degree. These things are you always see the protein with fat, whether it's fish, meat, different things. So, now that's not necessarily people say a good healthy fat, but, just something to think about. Good healthy fats, of course, avocado. We use avocado oil, cold pressed. Cold pressed just means it's not heated. And when oil is heated, it can lose a lot of its protective properties and healing properties. So avocado oil, MCT oils are great. Multi-chain triglycerides are great. All these are God-given foods. It's amazing. What God does and what clean eating will do to you. Is it wrong to work out to look better and not necessarily for health? I would take that to the Lord, because it depends. I mean, if you're wanting to look better for your spouse, trying to just, you're looking better, I think that can be a form of idolatry. So I think we have to be careful. But any of us in the fitness area, any of you that are, that can be a struggle. Obviously I want to look a little bit better, especially when I'm preaching. You want to be presentable. You want to be able to back your message. You want to, like Paul, I discipline my body and I bring it into subjection, lest when I preach to others, I myself should become disqualified. Whoops. And so I think it's hard, let's say if I was up there, 280 pounds and just out of shape, I think, it really speaks to, our testimony a little bit. So I think it's wrong to work out just to look better, but I think you will look better as you're working out for health, if that makes sense. People don't realize all the vitamins, minerals it supplies in healthy plant-based foods. Exactly. Oh yeah, that's funny. If you work out, you are a white supremacist. Yeah, I heard it. These guys are so woke, it's a joke. Some of the best athletes in the world are black. Come on. The black people have just genetically too. They are really gifted for athletics. And so that's just silly. They're trying to shame everyone, blame everyone. You should see when I grow a goatee, I really get name called, and I couldn't love people more. I've never had a skin issue problem. Never. I love all people. It's not a skin issue. It's a sin issue. Let's see. Berberdine is comparable to metformin, possibly. I'm not an expert on that. On this episode of Idleman Unplugged, health and fitness from a biblical perspective. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.